One of the most powerful and beautiful ideas in Judaism is that at every moment, the entire world is trying to teach you something. Most people walk through life and they're half asleep. They look at the world and see objects, buildings, cars, phones, traffic, noise, people, random events. But a wise person doesn't just see life, he reads life. Ezu chacham halamed mikol adam. Who's wise? The one who learns from every person, not just from rabbis, not just from svarim, from everything. Hashem puts in front of him things and he learns from them, because Hashem doesn't just create a world to live in, he created a world to decode. The wise person doesn't just see a phone, he sees how quickly attention gets stolen from us and asks himself, what's he gonna do with his own mind? He doesn't just see traffic, he sees thousands of people all rushing somewhere and wonders if any of them actually know where they're going. He doesn't just see a supermarket, he sees overflowing shelves and realizes how easy it is to forget gratitude when everything is always available. He doesn't just see an ocean, he sees something that looks calm on the surface but has depths that you can't see, and remembers that people are the same way. He doesn't just see fire, he sees how something can build and also destroy, and realizes how careful power has to be handled. To thinking people, nothing is random, nothing is just scenery, everything is a message. The only question is, are you awake enough to hear it? Well, recently I went on a submarine, and most people would walk onto a submarine and just think, okay, cool, or interesting, or claustrophobic. But if your eyes are open, if your mind is open, if your soul is awake, even a submarine can teach you how to live. I walked in there curious, and I walked out of there with some fabulous life lessons and mashalim and perspectives and reminders about what it means to survive pressure and to navigate darkness and to stay hidden when necessary and to move through dangerous waters without losing direction. The world is talking all the time. The question is whether we're listening. So climb aboard the submarine with me and let's hear what it has to say. Submarines are one of the most powerful weapons ever created, but here's the fascinating part. When a submarine is doing its job properly, you can't see it. It just disappears beneath the surface. It doesn't show off, it doesn't parade around. In fact, if a submarine is visible, that means that something went wrong. And yet, from beneath the surface, it can protect entire fleets of ships. In Judaism, the same thing is often true. Some of the most powerful spiritual people in the world are the ones nobody sees. The quiet learner, the person doing chesed privately, the person fighting their own battles with their own Yetzer Hara, the askin that nobody knows about. Judaism doesn't only value loud greatness. Sometimes the greatest people are the ones doing their work below the surface. We are living in a world where many people feel the need to be seen, where every good deed needs a post, or a picture, or a headline. We live in a culture obsessed with being loud and taking credit. But real power, real change, real greatness does not wave a flag. It's the force quietly running beneath the surface. So ask yourself in life, do you want applause or do you want impact? Because the world doesn't need more clout chasers. The world needs more submarines. People who don't get credit, people who get results. Ever wonder where submarines refuel? Think about it. If you're in the middle of an ocean thousands of miles from land, and the whole point of a submarine is that it stays underwater and hidden, where exactly are you pulling over to refuel? There's no gas stations in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So what do? Here's the wild part that most people don't know. Modern submarines don't refuel. You heard that. Not every few weeks, not every few months, ever. They don't refuel ever. A modern submarine can run for years and decades without refueling a single time. Now, how in the world is that possible? Great question. The answer is nuclear energy. Inside the submarine is a tiny reactor with uranium fuel. The scientists take these uranium atoms and they split them apart. It's called nuclear fission, which when the atoms split, they release an unbelievable amount of energy. And when I say unbelievable, I mean a tiny amount of uranium, literally a piece you could hold in your hand, can produce the same energy as millions and millions of gallons of gasoline. So while most machines are constantly scrambling to refuel cars, trains, boats, a nuclear submarine just keeps going. Now look at Jewish history. Physically speaking, we were never the strongest nation. We were the smallest, the most scattered. We lived on the edge of cities. We were the ones exiled, enslaved, expelled, mocked, crushed. And yet civilizations that were bigger, richer, stronger, and more powerful than us are gone. Empires that once ruled the entire world are now museum exhibits. And yet somehow the Jewish people are still sailing forward through history, while so many other nations are shipwrecks at the bottom of the ocean. How? What exactly is our secret? The secret is that most of the world runs on gasoline. Power, money, gold, pressure, fame. But gasoline runs out, and sooner or later every empire running on that fuel has to scramble to refuel. And when the fuel runs out, the engine stops. But the Jewish people don't run on gasoline. The Jewish people run on Torah, and Torah isn't gasoline. Torah is nuclear energy, and a nuclear engine doesn't need to refuel. We are a tiny nation, but we're plugged into an infinite power source. So while the rest of the world keeps stopping to refill their tanks, stockpiling gold and chasing diamonds and rebuilding power, we go back to our reactor. We open a Gemara, we learn a pasuk, we live a mitzvah, we say Tehillim, and that energy has been fueling the Jewish people for over 3,000 years. So while the rest of the world keeps stopping to refuel at gas stations, we just glide on past, silent, unstoppable, humming along with an engine that never runs out. Alright, I'm standing inside a submarine. I have a question. Ever think about it? Submarines can stay underwater for months at a time. Now think about it. You play hide and seek in a closet for 2 minutes and suddenly it gets stuffy and you're like, okay, I need air. How in the world do these sailors sitting underwater for months without fresh air, how do they survive? Here's the wild part. Submarines make oxygen from salt water. I'm not kidding. Inside the submarine, they take seawater, run electricity through it, and it splits the water molecules apart. Water is H2O, which is 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. The electricity breaks them apart, the submarine keeps the oxygen for the crew to breathe, and the hydrogen gets vented out back into the ocean. Which means, when you're in a submarine, the very thing that could drown you becomes the thing that keeps you alive. And that's exactly how life works. The world can feel like endless water closing in, pressure everywhere, temptations, distractions, deadlines, bad news, social media, friends pulling you sideways. It's overwhelming. You look around and you think, I cannot breathe here. I can't survive. But here's the thing. Just like a submarine, you can make oxygen from the water around you. You take your world, the very thing that could drag you down, and then you turn them into fuel for your soul. How? That annoying coworker, learn patience, humility, how to influence them positively. So instead of drowning you, now they're giving you oxygen in life. That boring shul, that long daf yomi shir, maybe it's giving you time to actually think about the words you're saying, or actually understand the sugya. That tidal wave of social pressure, consumerism, filter it through Torah values, decide what's holy, what builds you, and ignore the rest. Learn how to take on the oxygen. That mundane task, washing dishes, walking to work, paying bills, do it with the right intention, with a focus on serving Hashem, and suddenly all of it becomes oxygen. Some people see water in life and drown, but others, like a submarine crew, figure out how to breathe inside of it. They don't just survive, they live. They turn pressure into growth and distractions into the very fuel that propels them. That is the secret. That's how you take a world that seems designed to pull you under and make it fuel for your soul. And once you learn that art, it doesn't matter how flooded your world gets, because you know how to live and breathe underneath. A submarine can withstand enormous amounts of pressure from the ocean. There's thousands of tons of water pushing on it from every direction. But there's one thing a submarine can't survive, and that's a tiny leak. Not a torpedo, not a giant explosion, one small little hole, and slowly the water can come in, and eventually the entire sub is lost. Sometimes people think that spiritual collapse comes from one huge mistake. But often it's the opposite. Often what sinks the ship is the small little leak, the bad habit, the one toxic influence, the one area of life where a person says, this doesn't matter, and slowly the water starts coming in. Maybe it was the one night you decided to take that job that was more pay but not as kosher as the other one. Maybe it was choosing that small little shul that felt a little more relaxed and suddenly hanging around friends who didn't push you to grow. Maybe it was that one small decision at 30 that seemed tiny and insignificant and harmless. It was just a small, almost microscopic crack, but now decades later, it's led to spiritual mediocrity, missed opportunities, and regrets that weigh on you. The strongest people aren't the ones who survive giant explosions or public crises. The strongest people are the ones who guard the small cracks, the ones who notice the little choices, every conversation, every friendship, every habit, and refuse to let even a tiny leak compromise their soul, because more often than not, it's the tiny leaks, not the giant waves, that sink the ship.